Thursday morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
Seoul and Pyongyang agreed to resume operations at the Kaesong Industrial Complex beginning Monday, reviving the joint inter-Korean venture shut down since April.
But a satellite image shows that North Korea may have reactivated its nuclear facility in Yongbyon. More coming up in the headlines.
And the controversy over history textbook grows, this time with the government stepping in. Coming up on In Print.
Did you send a gift to your family yet? With Korea's Thanksgiving Chuseok just around the corner, we take you to the busiest place at the moment. Coming up. Once used only for shipping and storage, container boxes are undergoing a creative transformation. We'll show you a stack of shipping containers that's now a bar. And how about a trip to a livestock farm or a cultural craft center where you can experience making your own ceramics with the family? We'll have all of that for you on this Thursday, September 12, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Thursday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today.
Good morning, everyone. Believe it or not, Chuseok is only a week away. This is one of the nation's biggest holidays. This is when we celebrate a good harvest and the end of all the hard work that went into it. And this is also when we spend a small fortune on exchanging gifts. So if you haven't already, go out and buy some gifts for your family and friends.
That's right, a big, huge holiday for Koreans. And in Chuseok, 차례상 is prepared now. A 차례상 is a table of food that's coordinated with tradition that's offered to the dead and deceased family members and ancestors. And according to the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation, it seems that the average 차례상 will cost you about 180,000 Korean won. That's roughly about 165 US dollars if you're shopping at a traditional marketplace.
That's right.
But it will cost up to about 260,000 Korean won, about 240 US dollars if you're shopping at these major retailers.
That's right, and you can save up to 30% by going to a traditional market, so maybe that's an idea for you. But in any case, it's going to be a 2-day work week for most of our Korean viewers watching joining us from Korea, so hang in there.
All right,
we'll begin Korea Today with a look at the day's headlines.
So September 16th it is. South and North Korea have set the date for resuming operations at the Kaesong Industrial Complex after a 20-plus hour joint management committee meeting which ended on Wednesday. The two Koreas were able to reach an agreement on various issues. North Korea will provide compensation to the South Korean companies affected by the 5-month-long closure in the form of a tax waiver for this year. In addition, officials will invite foreign investors next month to explain business opportunities at the Kaesong complex.
Some of the benefits for foreign companies that want to enter the South Korean market will be the business park's close vicinity to the target market and cheap labor.
South Korean resident company owners at the Kaesong complex welcomed the decision, but they also stressed the government needs to fully support a smooth resumption. They added a unilateral shutdown should never happen again in the future, saying this should serve as an opportunity for the complex to make a healthy development. Operations at the complex abruptly came to a halt in early April because of North Korea amid heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula. And could those tensions be rising again? North Korea may have restarted its nuclear facility in Yongbyon, north of Pyongyang, according to multiple diplomatic sources. A satellite image reportedly shows white smoke near the facility, suggesting the reactor may have gone back online. Related officials are said to be analyzing the origin of the smoke, as it's still unclear whether the reactors are in full operation or are just being tested. The facility, which was suspected of having produced weapons-grade plutonium, was shut down in 2007 under a 6-party talks agreement. It's believed to be able to supply Pyongyang with enough plutonium to make 1 nuclear weapon a year by reprocessing spent nuclear materials from the fuel rods. The country's labor market picked up a bit in August. Statistics Korea says the number of employed people stood at around 25 million last month, up more than 400,000 from August last year. The employment rate rose 0.3 percentage points to 60% in August, a healthy number but still well under the government's target of 70%. The agency says the rise in the number of salaried workers and the number of self-employed declining at a slower pace helped boost job creation. By age, however, the number of employed people in their 20s dropped by 36,000, while those in their 30s fell by 23,000. The health and social welfare service sectors added the most jobs. The Education Ministry has decided to re-examine 8 sets of high school Korean history textbooks after a group of progressive lawmakers and scholars have claimed that some of them are too right-leaning, they misrepresent Korea's past, and even contain factual errors.
We came to a conclusion that the recently approved 8 sets of textbooks need an overall revision. So for the subject of Korean history, we plan to extend the deadline for the selection and orders of the books by schools to late November, so they can review the changes and then select their publishers.
Critics say some textbooks have overlooked facts about Japan's colonial rule of the Korean peninsula, intentionally leaving out certain elements. For example, one textbook describes that in Gyeongsang, which is now the Seoul region, many Koreans lived in the northern districts while the Japanese lived in the southern region. Liberal research groups say it fails to mention that Koreans were actually discriminated against and were forced to live in a new town under Japan's colonial rule. The Education Ministry says it will look into the textbook approval process and only review the factual errors in question.
Good morning, everyone. We have a varied mix of top stories on the front pages today, so we'll go ahead and launch in print with a look at 중앙일보. The headline reads, Kaesong Industrial Complex Season 2. And the sub-headline goes on to say that the complex will restart on the 16th and that it is a match of Park Geun-hye's perseverance and the economic difficulties of Kim Jong-un. The article reports, or rather gives 2 main reasons for calling the forthcoming era Kaesong Complex Season 2. And they are, 1, that North Korea assumed responsibility essentially for the latest stoppage by agreeing to ease on taxes, and 2, that there will be strides towards internationalizing the joint complex. Now, returning to that first point, the newspaper reports that Pyongyang will cancel affected companies' tax obligations for this year and also postpone their 2012 payments to the end of this year. And while the canceled tax payments may not amount to much since the factories were closed for 5 months, the newspaper says it is notable that the North has accepted that there is a consequence to poor choices. As far as internationalizing the complex, the paper says that there is a system instituted now that will help push the industrial zone to becoming more stable and predictable. A permanent secretariat under the South-North Committee will run the park starting this month, and the 2 sides will host an investment information session next month. And scooting over to our next headline, Gyeongyang Shinmun's headline reads, Seo Nam-soo says, revise, improve 교학사 Korea textbooks, or rather Korean history textbooks. Now, Seo Nam-soo is the Minister of Education pictured right there, and you heard from him in the headlines saying that his ministry, together with the National Institute of Korean History, which approved the said textbooks on August 30th, will review and fix the disputed textbooks as well as 7 others it approved by the end of next month. The newspaper highlights critical voices from historical circles saying that it is not enough to try to fix something that is so riddled with errors. And our next newspaper, 조선일보, shows a smile captured in front of the electronic board showing Korea's benchmark Kospi breaking through that 2,000 mark. It was the first time in some 100 days that the bourse recovered to the level since May 31st. And in fact, our Business Daily has the same story on its front page as well. Let's go ahead and scoot over to that story. The image title on Mail Business newspaper reads, "The Kospi smiles. First time in a while. While the headline underneath it credits the climb to the quote-unquote strength of foreigners. The bourse rose 0.49% or 9.79 points from a day earlier, ending at 2003.85. Overseas investors scooped up nearly 695 billion won. That's about $639 million during the trading day, continuing their buying rally to the 14th consecutive trading session. Well, you're covered on yesterday's Kospi numbers. Here are the rest of your closing numbers from Wednesday's market action.
The Kospi reached beyond the 2,000 mark for the first time in 3 months on the heels of a 14-day streak of buying by foreigners as of Wednesday and expectations for improved conditions in the global economy. The upward trend is rather steep, but market expectations are on the rise. With the situation in Syria entering a new phase and positive economic indicators from China, the European and other global stock markets have also been rallying. But in the U.S. Federal Open Market Committee's meeting and Japan's additional economic stimulus measure announcement upcoming this month could become variables to the market. Meanwhile, with global oil prices on the rise and a strengthening Korean won, local exporters are watching with much caution.
And to tell us more, we have Professor Ernst J. Lee from Hanyang University joining us in the studio. Welcome to the program, Professor.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
All right. The Kospi ended above the 2,000 mark for the first time in more than 3 months yesterday. It used to be more of a selling spree in the first half of the year, but what's prompting the investors to turn to buying now?
Well, actually, the Kospi 2000 looks like a symbolic and psychological hurdle, but to foreign investors, it's not that much important. They look at different dimensions. First of all, there was great disappointment about emerging markets like as India and Brazil. And vis-a-vis to those countries, Korea stands out with its rich foreign reserve, and Korea has been enjoying 10-year consecutive trade surpluses. In recent days, Korea has been enjoying 19 months consecutive trade surplus. So with a strong foreign reserve, and then in the fiscal strengths, Korea has viewed as more competitively speaking, eligible country to be invested. So there was portfolio adjustment. And second, maybe foreigners have been selling actually the Korean stocks almost 10 trillion Korean won in the last 6 months. They think it's time to buy in relation to the first question you mentioned. So they are doing readjustment of their portfolio. So it's time to buy because they sold too much. And maybe third point, emerging markets are weak, but advanced countries are recovering their power. So Korea is viewed as one of the beneficiary countries to be the beneficial country against this, to this recovery actually.
Right.
So these 3 points are, I think, attractive points for the foreign investors to buy Korean stocks.
Right. So especially with improved economic index in China as well, Korea's stock market will be more attractive for foreign investors.
Consistency is quite important, and Korea has shown confidence and consistency in its economy.
All right. So let's talk about the biggest share on the Kospi, Samsung Electronics. The reaction on its release of the smartwatch Galaxy Gear hasn't been too great, but its stocks are rising since last week.
Well, I think we have to look at the structure of Samsung Electronics first of all. The 70% of Samsung Electronics sales comes from sales of high-end, mobile phones. High-end mobile phones were well sold the last 2 years. When usually people buy high-end, high-pricey phones, they contract 2 years. They're all sold. But this is an endeavor to change the atmosphere. But I don't think this is good enough. Versus to Apple's trial that they are introducing 2 different models. So I think this is a very short-term impact.
And Apple, of course, unveiled its new iPhone models, including the lower cost
Right.
iPhone 5C, and they are very ambitious to push to dominating the global market. How will this affect the market?
Well, I think this is strategy change. Apple is not targeting existing market. They're targeting the lower income countries but bigger potentials, i.e. China. Our Chinese people cannot afford 600 to 700 high pricey iPhones. Those people who could buy, they bought already.
Right.
So they're targeting lower end people who are potentially a greater amount of the people who can buy that at the less than $100
Who
equivalent.
have more potential to grow.
Yeah, I think that's a very good strategy.
All right. So how long will this buying spree by foreign investors last in the Korean market? What are some of the variables that could shift the mood back to selling?
Well, I think this upward move will be quite temporal. Having said, there are some dependencies because we have to analyze why they are buying. Is it because of fundamental change in Korean economy? Well, it's been there already. It's been discounted. Second, the structure of Korean stock market, top 100 listed companies, Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motors combined takes more than 50% of net profit of top 100 companies listed in Korean KOSPI. So this is too much concentration. I think unless otherwise there's structural change, I think the upward pressure will be quite limited. And the KOSPI up move is benefited by only a few, less than 10 companies in a structural change, and remaining 90% of Korean companies are still struggling in their operating income and net profit. So we have to look carefully how these 90% of Korean companies will recover gradually and benefited and share growth.
What about the Syria factor as well as the U.S. Federal Reserve's Federal Open Market Committee meeting? Are those two going to be any deciding factors for whether investors will sell or buy?
Well, I think in the FOMC meeting, which is coming up on 18, I think that one of the important word is tapering.
Right.
Tapering means reduction of purchasing asset. Tapering will be confirmed. So if that is confirmed, I think we have to go through another turbulence in the emerging market countries. But I don't think Korea will be in the turbulence. However, in general, I think there will be readjustment of the portfolio of developed countries, advanced countries that they have invested in emerging countries. So tapering and the reshuffling of their portfolio will be confirmed, I think.
All right. But the Korean won, although it did snap a 3-day gain yesterday, it
Right.
also hit the strongest level since February on Tuesday. So what's the reason behind the strengthening won?
Well, again, I think there is a psychological comfort by foreign investors that Korea is not absolute safe haven, but compared to other emerging countries, we have a competitive edge in terms of the foreign reserve and a very strong confidence that we have given to the markets with the very strong stimulus package power. So in that regards, I think Korea gained a psychological comfort from foreign investors. And also, it is time that they have to make a readjustment in their portfolio. So the stronger Korean won and weak yen and high oil price is 3 dilemmas for Korean economy. I think we have to analyze when we can resolve these issues it's a matter of timing. So rather than in psychological impact by foreign investors, we have to look at these factors, how these factors will impact to Korean economy, especially top standing out companies like Hyundai Motors and Samsung Electronics.
And lastly, of course, the nation's exports will be hurt by the strengthening won. What other impacts will it have on the Korean economy?
Well, I think Syria is one of the factors, and President Obama delivered a speech yesterday.
Sorry, I meant what other impacts will the strengthening won have on the Korean economy? Not only on the exports, but other areas of the economy.
Well, we are depending on the trade.
Right, heavily dependent on trade.
Yeah,
actually.
so Korean won we have to look at two sides. Stronger Korean won means weaker US dollars. So what is the impact to weaker US dollars and what will be the impact to stronger US dollars? That's a dependency on an external effect, likewise in Syria impact. So on the Korean one side, I think there's not much thing that we can do about, so we have to more focus on FOMC meeting and the decision to be made on Syria, I think.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Yi, for joining us and sharing your insight today this morning.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And still ahead on Korea Today, industrial shipping containers of uniform shapes are getting innovative makeovers and becoming a part of our everyday lives. We take a look at creative architecture that is making use of container boxes and how people are enjoying these new spaces created.
As we mentioned at the top of the hour, one of the nation's biggest holidays, Chuseok, is just around the corner. You guys bought your gifts yet for your friends and
Yes, of
for us?
course. All packaged and sent except to you.
I'm waiting for
Oh,
the
wow,
to arrive
thanks.
so
I
can
feel
give
the
it to you.
love. Well, around this time of the year, the nation's mail carriers are the busiest people, and because they have to send all those boxes to
Yes.
homes nationwide. And our reporter Song Ji-sun was at the nation's biggest mail delivery center. So good morning.
Right.
How
Good
hectic
morning.
was it there?
You know, I've always wondered what would happen to my gift box once it leaves my hand. And this time I got to witness what happens and how they're processed. And it was actually better than I expected. It was very fast-tracked and high-tech to handle more than 1 million packages a day. Let's take a look.
Tens of millions of Koreans will head to their hometowns to gather with their families next week. But a gesture of their love often arrives before they do. Trucks full of boxes from Central and Eastern Seoul arrive as the sun sets, and the boxes are put onto the conveyor belt. Each box is scanned and put onto designated trays, which move 150 meters per minute, to be dropped at their destination lane, all in less than 3 minutes after being taken off the truck.
At this busiest time of the year, over 1 million packages are delivered each day nationwide, and up to 2 million packages are checked in each day. Now that's the triple the amount of a regular day.
For the 2 weeks before the Chuseok holiday arrives, the state-run Korea Post estimates that 13 million packages will have been delivered around the nation. That will be the highest it's ever been, up 16% from last year's Chuseok. The Eastern Seoul Mail Center, the biggest in the nation, handles about 1/5 of the nation's total packages. To have them delivered on time, part-timers are recruited in mass numbers. Even administrative office workers are called in, fill in the hours in between.
Around 60 people work on a shift, but we have an extra 120 working these days. Office workers temporarily fill in the remaining hours of the workers here. It's greatly needed because we usually get 150,000 packages a day, and we get twice that amount this time of the year.
So what's the most challenging part of handling so many holiday gift boxes? This woman, who's worked here for 6 years, says extra stamina is a must on these intense days.
For Chuseok deliveries, the boxes are bigger and heavier, full of ripe fruits and gifts. I'd say it's about 5 times tougher than regular days, and my back hurts after lifting these boxes every night.
The work continues around the clock overnight, and the boxes will leave the mail center and route to their final destinations at the crack of dawn.
Wow, just looking at those packages, the number of them, it's just giving me a headache right now. How do they organize all this stuff? But so it's a rise in packages as compared to last year and also recorded an all-time high. What's the reason behind this?
Basically, a lot of people chose to buy gifts for their families, even though their economic status may not be as good as they expected. And they actually chose to buy cheaper gifts. And this is according to the sales record of a lot of department stores. On average, they had sales increase of 25% from last year. And of course, there are travelers who choose not to visit their families, and they choose to vow or greet their families by sending gifts instead.
I have a question. Are there extra steps or special care given to some of the products, the gifts that could go bad? Because the last thing I want to do is to send the rotten fish to my professor.
Exactly,
right?
perishables.
Exactly. I mean, I was really astonished by the process they were handling the gifts and the boxes, because by reading the barcode, they could actually classify if it's a fish, if it needs refrigeration or
it's fragile or not, and it automatically distributes all these products according to those barcodes. So they are sent to like refrigerated or tempered containers, so they could not be rotten or damaged in any way.
And what about the fragile items like glass or bottles
As well,
of
people
wine?
they have a special handling care and the containers and the conveyor belts as well, so you don't have to worry at all, I guess.
Okay.
And you did mention that the companies are hiring more people and giving more part-time jobs, but are they popular part-time jobs? I mean, the lady did say that it hurts her back after lifting all those heavy packages. Yeah.
Yeah, and according to our latest survey our latest survey says the delivering and carrying the packages was selected as the toughest part-time job that's out there because of the workload and the heavy boxes they have to carry. But still, and to fill in all the work for that falls short of that at the moment, the Korea's post office has inducted 2,500 people, and over 48,000 people are working at the moment to actually handle all the packages until next week. And that goes same with other private logistics companies like Hyundai and CJ Logistics. They're expecting at least 10% of increase in the packages, so they're also increasing their manpower to actually boost and actually deliver them on time before the holiday arrives.
Right now, I just have to wait for those socks to come to my door.
I thought you were sending us socks. We're not sending you socks.
All right, thank you for this interesting report, Jisun.
Thank you. I look forward to great holidays.
Recently, a 13-year-old Cambodian child who suffered third-degree burns was brought to Korea for treatment. He got this chance thanks to a program called the Medical Charity Program provided by the Korea Health Industry Development Institute.
Contributing to the international community by inviting foreign children and providing medical care at no cost. We'll get a look at this program and how it's been doing.
Here at this university hospital in Daejeon, a very important surgery is about to take place. A young patient with severe burns will receive a skin graft. Dr. Kim Dong-chol of the hospital's Burn Reconstruction Center will be in charge of today's surgery. How bad is the patient's condition?
This young patient has severe burn scars on his feet, so bad that they have deformed them. In order to help him walk properly again, our team will completely remove the burn scars and conduct skin graft surgery on his ankle joints to prohibit such deformity and redress the skin. We'll also do a similar skin graft around his deformed arm.
The 11-year-old patient, Mot Mon, is from Cambodia. In February, he fell victim to a fire that his friend set on a tree while he was picking fruit. He was left with severe burns on his arms and legs. Although Mot Mon's conditions were extremely severe, Cambodia has no specialized burn treatment facilities, so he had to get by on painkillers and vitamins until he could finally make his way to Korea. This was made possible thanks to the medical charity program offered by the Korea Health Industry Development Institute.
The Medical Charity Program is Korea's national budget program to provide free medical treatment and services to countries that lack such facilities and programs. For the past 3 years, the host hospitals have covered the medical expenses of visiting patients, while the Korean government has paid for the patient and his or her guardian's travel and lodging expenses.
The medical charity program that started in 2011 has so far treated 167 patients from 22 countries. Through such international philanthropic projects for low-income patients in other countries, the program is able to work for public interest and also promote Korea's advanced medical technology. The program's partners and host hospitals vary depending on the field of expertise required by the patient's health conditions. For Konyang University Hospital, this is the second time participating since it has a burn reconstruction center, still uncommon in other hospitals in Korea. It looks like Mot Mon has gained some stability, and he smiles after his long, strenuous surgery.
Before, his arm was very stiff, but as you can see, that's getting better. He doesn't have a fever and he looks much brighter than before. It looks like he's recovering well.
Man's mother, who came to Korea with him, seems a little more relieved now.
I'm so happy that so many people in the hospital have been kind to us. I just want to thank all the Koreans who helped us.
The day after his surgery, doctors officially conclude that Man is making good progress from his surgery as they apply the treated areas with medical dressing.
Skin grafts have been engrafted well. As of now, the area treated is clean, so it's safe to say the surgery went well.
Along with the medical charity program, another project called Medical Korea Academy is also operating. It provides opportunities for foreign doctors to learn about Korea's advanced medical techniques. This year was the first time that these two programs were held together, and Cambodian doctor Kep Bagna was invited.
It was a privilege observing the burn reconstruction surgery. I want to thank Dr. Kim Dong-chul for performing the surgery, and I'm glad Mutmun received treatment at a top-notch facility. I want to share my experiences when I return to Cambodia.
The doctor training program Medical Korea Academy offers joint training and studying for its participants in Korea's top-notch medical research and skills. These trained doctors are then able to take better care of patients who have received treatment from Korea, and they can further participate in philanthropic medical programs.
The medical charity program has the goal of attracting more foreign patients and giving back to the global community. Many see it as a great opportunity to promote Korea's leading medical technology so that more people in need can receive treatment.
And still ahead, horseback riding across the green pastures on a picturesque ranch, mingling with cows, sheep, and rabbits, and crafting your own pottery. These are some of the things Andrew and Diana Brand will show us on their beautiful trip to the city of Ansong. But before we do that, it's time for Design Korea. And Young, you went to visit some interesting building, right?
It was very, very interesting, in fact. It also had sort of an urban and chic look to it. Now, but first, let's talk about shipping containers. We've seen these on shipyards, on freighters, as well as on construction yards. They're sometimes used for temporary housing or even offices, right? But there's a whole new way of using these containers for buildings. And design director Han Ji-seop, he showed me all about it. Hi, Chuseok, how are you?
Hey, Young, long time no see. How are you?
Long time no see.
How have you been? No, actually, we're gonna go visit a special place. But I want to ask you a question. When I say a word container, what comes up to your mind?
All right, container. We're talking about the shipping boxes.
Yes,
correct. Oh, I'm thinking cargo, container boxes, shipping. What else?
That's the typical image, but we're gonna take a look at the buildings that are used and built by the container. Let's go take a look.
Okay, I'm excited. Let's go. That's it, huh? When container boxes are used for housing or for offices and small structures, then you can usually see them at construction yards or construction sites, right? But you don't normally expect to see a bunch of container boxes stacked up right in the middle of Gangnam District.
Yes, you're correct. This place is when it was first built, it was very unusual because people didn't expect this to see in the middle of Gangnam. Let's go take a look inside and we'll have more details.
Okay. Wow, it's a lot bigger than I expected. It looks smaller from the outside, but when you get in here, it's something. And especially with this military-themed interior, it creates an urban feel. Great, but I'm kind of curious because they stacked 28 of these container boxes up, right? And then they kind of hollowed out the inside. Doesn't that kind of compensate the structural rigidity?
Well, actually, the boxes are stacked together on either side, and they put the roof on top. So box itself is very self-sustained structure itself. So it's very stable. way they piled up the boxes here, they have randomly positioned it so that there's no exact border of outside and inside. So entrance like this, entrance like that, and entrance like that there. So it makes the whole place very unique and very flexible.
So if we're talking about benefits of using container, then for me, absolutely one argument stands out. It's mobility, you know. So I can disassemble this building whenever I want and build it up somewhere else. So we designed it from the beginning because of these aspects.
Garusugil in Shinsadong is known as one of Korea's most popular cultural spots. But I didn't know that just past that area, up other alleys, is this relaxing rest area made out of shipping containers, amongst other impressive buildings.
Are there any other buildings in Seoul or in Korea that are made of container boxes?
Yes, there are a few actually. There's one observatory called Ocean Scope out on the west coast. And there's also a building in Busan called the CATs, and it's all made out of container boxes. Also, other places in the world are also reusing these giant metal boxes. In France, they renovated container boxes as dormitories. And Switzerland, the small bag company, they made this whole office space from container boxes. And also, there's a very famous sports gear brand. They made their flagship store from the container boxes, and it's getting huge, interesting, and very positive reviews by all the users.
So container boxes are becoming a part of art. Now, is this a public design enterprise that's going on? Are we seeing a revolution in these buildings?
Yes, there is a public place around the Bulgwangcheon in Eunpyeonggu district, and it's actually a library. But what's interesting about that building is they pull the entire side cut out and they put glasses on it. So people using the library itself, from the inside, they can enjoy the view outside. Also, it draws the public that are walking outside into the space.
Now, I'm starting to see this as much more than just stacking a bunch of container boxes together. There's an actual art to this, an architectural art design that goes into this.
So you see enough container boxes today?
Yeah, it was great. I'm definitely going to come back here on a party night or something and hang out with a bunch of friends.
Okay.
And a good Thursday morning to you all. Now, a rather rainy few days we've been having here in the nation as the Tucson Bears and the LG Twins were rained down for the second straight night, leaving the league with just 3 games on Wednesday night. Now, the Lotte Giants were able to shut out the NC Dinos last night 2-0, with the Kia Tigers beating the SK Wyverns 2-1. So with that said, let's take a look at the other game that took place, starting off with the Samsung Lions taking on the Nexen Heroes. Of course, shifting over to the game here, we go over to the first inning of the game. Chae Hyung-woo at bat is going to crush this ball to deep right field, no doubt about it. A 2-run shot gives the Samsung Lions the early 2-0 lead. Next inning, here's Lee Tae-gun. He's going to ground into a double play, but in comes Seogun Chung from third as the score is now 2-1 Samsung. Fourth inning here, here's Kim Tae-won. This time he's going to send this one to deep left field. Back. Gone. A solo shot by Kim Tae-won gives the Samsung Lions the 3-1 lead. Fast forward to the 9th inning. Here is Samsung up 4-1. Chung Hyung-sik with 2 men on. Here we go again. This one is out of here. The 3rd home run on the night for the Samsung Lions. Meanwhile, Yoon Sung-won on the mound pitching a gem in this game. 6 innings, giving up just 7 hits on 1 run, while striking out 7 batters as the Samsung Lions cruise through 7-1. And staying in baseball, but over in the major leagues. Now, after being scratched from his last start due to a stiffness in his back, LA Dodgers rookie pitcher Ryun Jin will be making a start later today against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the 13-5 Ryun Jin will be going up against the ace of the Diamondbacks, Patrick Corbin, who's 13-6 with an ERA of 3.01. While the LA Dodgers are holding on to a huge first-place lead in the NL West, the Arizona Diamondbacks are at 500 even and trailing the Dodgers by 13 games in second place. And now moving on to the K-League Classic as we take a look at some Wednesday night football action. As the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings beat the Busan I-Park 1-0, with Jeju United pulling away with a nice 2-1 victory over Daejeon. Now also the Jeonnam Dragons snuck past Seongnam Ira Cheonma 1-0, with Incheon and Jeonbuk drawing 1-1, as well as Daegu FC and Gangwon FC drawing 1-1. So with that said, let's take a look at a big matchup here. The Pohang Steelers taking on FC Seoul at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. Now, a relatively quiet first half of the match where both sides unable to find the back of the net as the first half closes with a scoreless draw. But here in the second half of the game, here's Molina in the 68th minute of the match, scores, and it's 1-0 FC Seoul. 20 minutes later in the game, we go over to the 88th minute. Here is Ko Myung-jin to close things off here. An insurance goal late in the match makes it 2-0 FC Seoul. And what do you know? That's your final score, 2-0, as FC Seoul pulls away with a huge win over the Pohang Steelers. And with all that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
And thank you very much, SJ, for the sports updates. And now we'll head on over to Goyang in the Gyeonggi province to Tommy, who's joining us with the weather updates.
So I'm back reporting live from Goyang, Gyeonggi province. And this morning we're starting off with mostly cloudy skies. Also, it is a bit foggy in the atmosphere as well. Now it looks like most of the nation will be seeing cloudy skies throughout the day. As for the southern areas of South Chungcheong province, also North and South Gyeongsang province, and all the way down in Jeju Island, areas will be seeing sporadic showers during the day. Also here in the central regions, we will also receive sporadic showers, but later in the evening, it will turn into quite a bit of a heavy rainfall, which is expected to continue into tomorrow. As for the temperatures, it's 20 degrees Celsius currently, and it is a bit cooler than compared to the afternoons. And the number of people that have been catching a cold these days is steadily rising, so make sure to take care of yourselves by eating healthy and, of course, dressing accordingly when heading outdoors. All right, then let's go ahead and take a check on today's numbers. Seoul and Daejeon will both rise to 26. Daegu will be the hottest at 29. On the other hand, Gangneung will be the coolest at 24, and the rest of the peninsula highs will rise to 28 degrees. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
In Korea, we say autumn is when the sky is high, and you get that really deep blue color and the sensation that the sky is really deeper and higher than it really is.
We call it the 천고마비, the season of 천고마비, when horses are supposed to get fatter too. I don't know why.
I don't know about that.
I'm starting to feel like a horse now.
Right.
I've been a horse. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, today we're going to take you to Ansong in Gyeonggi province, known for its picturesque ranch with beautiful, these cute little furry animals. And your kids and even you will like this trip. So let's follow Andrew and Diana Brand on a trip to Ansong.
It's September, when fall is just about here, and we're out for another journey.
We're going somewhere really exciting right now. There's lots of animals, cows, horses, you name it, all kinds of animals. It's going to be an exciting trip, isn't it? Yes, it is.
The city is Ansong, 30 minutes away from Seoul and rich in traditional culture, and is known as the home of Korea's folk performance Namsa Dangnori and its brassware. Our first stop in Ansong is the Livestock Experience Farm, the largest of its kind in Korea. This beautiful, large pasture where all kinds of animals roam around has become a popular venue to film television dramas and movies. Eager to enjoy nature and meet some cute animals, Diana and I hurry to our destination. While walking on the path along the vast ranch, we see cows roaming freely in the field. Diana hurries over and is not shy to get closer. Here, different kinds of cows, ranging from the traditional striped oxen to dairy cows, live together.
Come on over. There you go. There you go. Look at that tongue. Oh, he took it right out of my hand.
After some quality time with the cows, we move on to where some cute, fluffy sheep are. Diana gets busy feeding them.
싸우지 말고 먹어.
There are animals all over the farm. And since they're not locked up, it has become a great place to naturally learn about the livestock while feeding and looking at them up close.
I feel great. It's just a lot of competition here. We've got ducks, we've got sheep, we've got goats, especially these ducks, but it's fun.
There's another little creature hopping around, and it's a bunny. Diane is busy following the rabbit to see it for herself. I decide to join in on the chase, but it's no easy mission to accomplish. After some hide and seek, Diane is finally able to see the furry rabbit up close.
Diana, there's a show. Let's see what's going on over there.
And when at a farm, you can't miss the dog tricks. Children are all fascinated by all kinds of frisbee moves the dog shows off.
Really exciting, eh?
And passing by the windmills, we finally reach the top of a spectacular, vast grassland with a much-needed healing effect. And following a short walk on this picturesque pasture, we spot beautiful horses. Here, there are indoor and outdoor riding tracks to experience horseback riding, something hard to do in the city. First, we visit the stables to familiarize ourselves with the beautiful horses. And Diana, fascinated by them, can't seem to keep her eyes off of them.
탐스럽다.
And now it's time to ride the horses.
안 넘어져요, 얘?
But it seems Diana is still a bit scared. At first, she seems a little stiff, but slowly, Diana is able to get a hold of it and enjoys the ride.
막 나는 느낌 나요.
And in no time, both Diana and I are totally into it. Even though it's her first time, Diana quickly got used to her horse, and the race begins. In the end, Diana wins the race. After a fun and memorable time at the green pasture with all sorts of animals, we head to the Craft Culture Center, where visitors can experience 6 different handicrafts, from ceramics to natural dye workshops.
만들면 안 돼요, 이제?
해보고 싶어요?
Diana decides to try to make her own ceramic piece.
다이애나, 뭐 만들 거예요?
껍질.
She busily turns the wheel, determined to make her own pottery. Can she make the vase she wants?
아빠는 지금 막 힘들게 못하고 계시죠?
Daddy, look! What are you doing?
보자.
Unlike Diana, I'm still having some trouble with my piece.
Daddy?
Yeah?
And stop it.
Hmm?
Stop a little. Stop it. Like this.
Like this?
And to lend a helping hand, Diana becomes an arts and craft teacher.
Okay.
Unlike myself, she has already completed her vase.
Look at mine.
Oh, Diana, that's a great little vase.
After we finish our eventful arts and crafts session, we head over to a natural dye workshop.
한번 묶어볼게요.
문양이 나와요.
여기에 하얀 문양이.
After tying a rubber band around the white cloth in any fashion you want, all you have to do is dip the white garment into the boiled natural dye.
Well, I've got a feeling of anticipation. It's kind of like a mystery. How is it going to turn out?
Once the white fabric has been soaked, You just need to cut the white band and then hang it to dry to produce a one-of-a-kind natural dye art piece.
I think this is like lighting sky.
Looks like lightning in the sky.
Such beautiful tie-dyes can also be used as scarves, adding some extra color and style.
Oh, today was great. Full of great variety. It wasn't too hot, and it was wonderful being together, wasn't it? Oh, yeah, it was great. We had a great day.
A bonding moment there. But I can still hear little Diana saying, 더 빨리, 더 빨리, to that little horse, faster, right? But if you do want to try out this horseback riding, which is quite an unusual experience, then you can go to this website and make a reservation.
Okay, and also the Arts and Crafts Center that Diana and Andrew Brand went to. There are more activities, a lot of different workshops that you can partake in. All you have to do is register beforehand.
That's right. That's all we have prepared for you on this Thursday morning. Thanks for watching.
All right, have a happy Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7.